Pirate BORG, the swashbuckling, seafaring, scallywagging role-playing game for your inevitable pirate phase. That's your cue, lads.
Soon may the Wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tugging is done, we'll take our leave and go.
Why is this game called Pirate BORG instead of Scallywags and Sea Dogs, or Ampersand and anything to get the 5th edition fans to even look at me? That's because Pirate BORG is a spin-off of the game Morkborg? Merkborg, which is a rules-light, pre-apocalyptic game set in around, 4 months from now, that sets itself apart with an art style that looks exactly what my Christian parents thought I was doing when they found out I played Dungeons and Dragons. But I'm just not a fan of apocalyptic themes, man. I'm already living in a pre-apocalypse. Have you read the internet? Have you been outside? Howdy. But at least Pirate BORG took some zannies before bludgeoning me with its dark Caribbean apocalypse. At least I can distract myself by killing skeletons, loot their corpses to find a wanted poster of myself, and celebrate my randomly generated infamy by snorting their bones, which allows me to slow down time or die. You've probably noticed the striking art throughout the book and the minimal text marring its vibes. Flipping through this book is a joy. I feel sorry for 5th edition superfans who won't even look twice at games like these unless it was called Jolly Roger's Guide to the Sunk Cost Fallacy. Because look, I get it. Most modern tabletop RPGs are phone books, formatted like a King James Bible. I wouldn't want to read through all this either. But Pirate BORG is 168 pages, 127 if you don't include the adventure in the back, in an A5-sized book, the way Neptune intended for tabletop play. And most pages aren't filled with minute rules or bloated lore, but vibes. The art, layout, and writing was all accomplished by one man, Luke Stratton, and I love him. I love him so much, I hate him. Look at this art. He even makes British people look cool. How can one man be this talented? The first 25 pages of the Dark Caribbean's lore and factions feels like I'm reading the opening cutscene to a video game that's definitely gonna define my personality for the next decade. It began on the solstice. Haunting screams echoed over sandy beaches. And from the death, black waves crawled. The undead. Stratton understands he's gotta sell you with the vibes of the game to get you to want to trudge through the game mechanics. The only thing that would make Stratton cooler if he was a concert lighting designer for bands like the Smashing Pumpkins. Dang it! Here's the 2 pages of how to make a character. Here's the 2 pages of all the abilities and the main mechanics of resolution. Here's the entirety of combat rules. Here's how to die and how to level up and not die as much. And oh look, we're already into the classes. Your options are Pirate Barbarian, Pirate Rogue, Pirate Ranger, Pirate Fighter, Pirate Cleric, and Pirate Wizard. Your pirate character has 5 stats: Strength, not Dexterity, the Hotness stat, not Constitution, and what you get when you force Intelligence and Wisdom to kiss. Each class gives you additional modifiers to your abilities, as well as a specific die for your Devil's Luck, which allows you to look at it, sear it into your mind, because it will be on the test later. Most of the classes have 6 unique features that you roll for each time you level up. Some classes like the Rapscallion, the Rogue, Buccaneer, Ranger, and the Sorcerer, Wizard, allows you to take the same feature for a leveled up version of it. But I will say most of the classes feel more like an accessory to your pirate, rather than your class being your character's entire personality, like in 5e or Pathfinder. Everyone looks like a pirate until you squint, with the exception being perhaps the Zealot and the Sorcerer. But I feel like they need either way more spells or give them spells that have more versatility, because you basically only get 1 spell per level up. Zealot's features ain't anything you haven't seen before on a cleric spell list. And the Sorcerer feels pretty pigeonholed into the whole voodoo eldritch necromancer vibe. But that's because this is a human-centric, pseudo-historical setting, filled with fantastical things like undead, eldritch horrors, and British people. But there are also additional classes that let you play as ghosts, vampires, skeletons, merfolk, Davy Jones's crew from Pirates of the Caribbean 2, and the pet sidekick in a Disney princess movie. Once you pick your class, all you have to do next is roll for your starting clothes, roll for your starting hat, roll for your background, roll for your director flaw and physical trademark and spectrum of autism. This game has a ton of random tables for piratey things like random ships found at sea and their random cargo, the random treasure map you found on the random ship, the random island the random treasure map takes you to that you found on the random ship, the random buried treasure on the random island your random treasure map led you to that you found on the random ship. You rolled a 1. You die in D8 days. I'm making this game sound a bit deadlier than it actually is, but in BORG-type games, life is cheap. Luckily, dropping to 0 HP doesn't necessarily mean death, because there's a random table for it. And character creation is quick. Just look at the player sheet. Nearly half of it isn't even about your character. It's about your ship, which I guess for pirate games should equate for about 50% of your pirate's personality. Pirates and their ships go like Batman and the Batmobile, like Spider-Man and his spider cycle, or like the average Floridian and his giant white Dodge Ram accommodating for his tiny... Naval Combat contains perhaps the most complex mechanics in all of Pirate BORG, spanning about 5 pages, which for all of Mort fans is about 4 pages too many, and for you Ghost of Saltmarsh fans who already wrote in the comments that 5th edition already has Naval Combat rules before you watch this part of the video, is about 11 more pages in 6-point size font too few. Naval Combat in Pirate BORG does require a hex grid, because the direction your ship is facing is the difference between you being able to fire your cannons versus only your small arms, like swivel guns and muskets, which could fire from any direction. Ships can only rotate by 1 hex face, twice on their turn, but only once per hex, so your ship can't pull off 360 no-scopes. A ship gets 2 crew actions per turn, plus each player character on a ship can take a crew action. In fact, here's all the different crew actions you can do in a single page. Fire the broadside cannons, fire small arms, attempt to allow the ship to move 1 more hex, attempt to turn the ship an additional hex face, drop anchor, weigh anchor, repair the ship, ram the ship, and something weird your players would want to do that doesn't fit into any of the above. Like singing. Oh yes, sea shanties is basically its own mini magic system. Discover new shanties for your crew to sing as cannonballs zip past their heads to change the direction of the wind, or even shove another ship with a wave. Personally, I'm going to default to these rules for any ship versus ship combat, because naval combat and really any type of vehicle combat in a tabletop RPG can easily overstay its welcome. I want mechanics that would make sense logically, where I can explain the rules quickly in the middle of the game as the players play out their first naval encounter. Here's the stat block of a sailing ship in 5e. Here's the stat block for a brigantine in Pirate BORG. They literally sell these on a playing card, it's so compact. I'm not saying it's better, but it is simpler, which means it's objectively better. Towards the back end of the book, we get a bestiary of dark fauna and flora. Minimal stat blocks, which is HP, defenses, attacks, and at least one unique thing that would make this creature or monster stand out from some guy named Dan punching you for 1d4 damage. The Dark Caribbean is filled with all manner of undead. So here's your skeleton crew, your zombie crew, your ghost crew, and your sea monsters, which have stats for both standard and naval combat. And Davy Jones is a giant turtle for some reason. Hashtag not my Davy Jones. There's also these marrow cannons, sentient undead armaments. I would rule that the skull can heckle you as a free action. Archetype captains, which can be used as your big bad evil guys for your seafaring adventures. And then we get into all those roll tables I've mentioned before. Finally, we get to the adventure. Skip to this timestamp if you think you might be playing this adventure at some point. The Curse of Skeleton Point is a sandbox adventure which takes place in Black Coral Bay, with 7 major locations like Coral Town, a dungeon with 3 levels, an underwater reef, and the fortress Skeleton Point. Several major NPCs are also featured with their wants and their current shenanigans. I think for a brand new game master, they would feel like they would need way more information, but if you've run a couple of mainstream adventures or two, you'll be surprised how little information you actually need to run most locations and rooms. I feel like this island gives you a smorgasbord of piratey themes. One detail I like is this sidebar of how the adventure progresses if the players don't do anything. Sandbox adventures rely on players' curiosity to get involved, and I like how this adventure attempts different forms of bait for the players should they be more passive. Overall, it's good. Pirate BORG is a lesson in both style and simplicity. If you're hankering like the rest of us this crackin' week to get your pirate on, the tools in this book will serve ye well. The game mechanics themselves are simple for one-shots and to get players playing rather than reading and researching. Thanks for watching a Deficient review. Tune in next time when we look at... Oh, crap.
Leave her, Johnny, leave her. Oh, leave her, Johnny, leave her. For the voyage is done and the winds won't blow, and it's time for us to leave her.